So our focus today is on divorce. And as we delve into the teachings of what Jesus says about divorce and the permanence of marriage, we're going to look in Mark chapter 10. We're going to start in verse 1. Mark chapter 10, verse 1. Now in the 10th chapter of Mark, we have an account of a new journey of the Lord and his disciples. He's leaving Galilee for the last time. He's beginning, and in the other Gospels, this is a turning point. This is a place when he turns his face and he's on his mission to go to the cross, and he's going toward Jerusalem, and he's working his way that way. And that was an important transition in his ministry. If you look in verse 1, and he arose from thence and cometh into the coast of Judea by the farther side of Jordan, and the people resort unto him again, as he was wont. He taught them again. So as Jesus departs, he winds up here, and the people, the crowds begin to follow him as they have otherwise. Now during this journey, Jesus sends out the 70 on a mission like he did the 12 to minister. And John tells us in chapter 10 that Jesus went to Jerusalem and participated in the Feast of Dedication. After the feast, he went across the Jordan and ministered. So don't have a map, we'll discuss that, but today we're talking about a tough topic, and I'm going to be honest with you, I may not do well with it, but it has been helpful to me. I wished I'd have heard this message years ago when I was young and dumber. But as the Pharisees came up in verse 2, and the Pharisees came to him and asked him, is it lawful for a man to put away his wife, tempting him? So they came with a purpose. They came on a mission. Their motive was to trap him or to get him crossed up and to get the angry or get the crowds to turn against him. That was their whole idea. And ultimately, they wanted to kill him, and they wanted to bring him to death. And we see towards the end of Mark, we'll see that happen. So they were trying to stir up trouble. They were trying to stir up the crowd and build hostility, and they were hostile toward him. And they were trying to make him choose between two views that was very popular in the Jewish world. Two main schools. One was the teaching of the great Rabbi Hillel. And Moses in Deuteronomy 24 had said that a man could divorce his wife if he found any indecency in her. Hillel interpreted that to mean anything she did wrong and the man and the husband decided he didn't like it, then he could divorce her. And that was a very liberal, broad view, but it's very common today, isn't it? If she made bad coffee, if she cooked the wrong egg, or she didn't fry it right, he could divorce her. If she didn't keep the house clean, he could divorce her. For most anything, if she was fussy or argumentative or talked back, all those things, out she was in. And that's a popular thing today. If we don't agree and if you bother me, then we're going to separate. We're not going to work with it. We're not going to live there. But the second school was a conservative school. I won't say Democrats and Republicans, but they opposed the school of Hillel. And this school of Shammai was another great rabbi of that day, and he taught that divorce was to be strictly limited, but he permitted divorce. And it had to be under certain conditions that a person could divorce. So the nation, by and large, was divided on that, confused about that, and we have the same problem today. We've got a view that says, well, anything goes, and you just, if it don't work out, if it's not comfortable, if you're unhappy, then you can bail out. And then we have the view that, you can't divorce and you can't be a Christian and do this. And so this was a serious problem in that day, and it's a serious problem today. And it's also a problem that we have overlooked. Anybody remember the song by Tammy Wynette? D. years ago. Some of you never heard that. The young folks probably never heard that song. But it was a popular song years ago, and that was before divorce was so popular. And she was not condoning divorce. She was just admitting divorce and the struggle that she was having with that idea. So the idea of marriage and the idea of divorce was not to be taken lightly. It's a serious matter. And so we need to look at it serious today. And this is a question that Jesus is identifying, and he confronts the question there. Notice in verses 3 through 5, Jesus goes back to Moses' concession to divorce. And he answered and said unto them, what did Moses command you? And they said, well, Moses suffered to write a bill of divorcement and to put her away. So Moses had said, it's okay, we'll write divorce. And we need to understand why here in a moment. And so Moses' command, he could write a divorce. Now there was a cause behind that. Why did Moses do that? Why did Moses permit divorce? And notice in verse 5. And Jesus answered and said unto them, for the hardness of your heart he wrote you this precept, or principle, or truth. And he said there's a moral cause for divorce. And the moral cause was the hardness of man's heart. He's given us the motive. He's given us the reason why Moses permitted divorce. And Jesus goes behind the scene, behind the statement of Deuteronomy 24 and says, Moses gave this because of the hardness of your heart. And because men's heart were hardened that Moses allowed divorce. So what does that mean? Well, it's pointing out very clearly that divorce could occur in order to reveal in public what had been going on in private in that marriage, the hardness of heart. The law is given to reveal sin. And Moses was given this instruction to reveal sin. I mentioned the term a while ago, and we use that sometimes, behind closed doors. We're all, we sit here and we don't have that big a crowd, but, each of us, we have our families, and I've known families, and you've known families where behind closed doors, well, I don't know how to say this, but anybody ever have an argument with your wife or husband? Well, I never had an argument with my wife, but we do discuss things very highly orchestrated sometimes. We all have conflicts, and we don't know what goes behind closed doors, but I've known people that were in church, and I've known people that were Christians, and I find out they have been very abusive and been browbeaten and beating the other one down, and that's wrong. So we don't know what goes on behind closed doors sometimes. But the law was given to reveal the sin, and for people have to open up and reveal that. So that's in line with what Moses was. He was a lawgiver, and he's given this instruction about marriage. And he should also give permission for divorce in order to make visible what's going on in the family. What is a hardened heart? It's the opposite of a soft heart. We think of a soft heart as being mellowed, gentle, kind, open. A soft heart, open, gentle. And the Bible warns us over and over in the Bible, the various places and various times in the Scriptures, he warns us against the hardening of our heart. You remember a story in the Old Testament where Moses was sent to Pharaoh and told to deliver the message of God to Pharaoh, let my people go. Well, when Pharaoh heard that word, he hardened his heart, according to Exodus 8:15. It says, after the stench of the frogs, the plagues were going on, and after the stench of the frogs had been removed, when Pharaoh saw that relief had come, he became stubborn. I don't know if anybody ever gets stubborn. He refused to listen to Moses and to Aaron, just as the Lord had predicted. Then in chapter 8, verse 32, after the plague of the flies, that plague was removed, but Pharaoh again became stubborn and refused to let the people go. Exodus 9, 34 and 35, but when Moses